The Republican Party, as you know, Mika, has had absolute control of the state Senate, the state House, the governor, the lieutenant governor, every statewide office for the last 20 years. So the decisions to deregulate ERCOT and to ensure that it's not connected to the national grid, to fail to weatherize our power generators, whether it's coal or gas or nuclear or wind or solar, or the transmission lines that carry that energy to us. The inability to ensure that there's excess capacity for emergencies like these to power our homes and businesses and lives. These are all decisions that they made.
Every other state in the country actually has to answer to FERC. Texas doesn't. Texas is alone in the continental United States in having its own standalone Texas-only power grid.
There's no incentive for generators to make those improvements and pass along those costs to customers if customers are just rather going to choose a company that's deregulated that is cheaper.
This deregulation led to a lack of oversight that could have helped to keep the infrastructure maintained. But instead, for some reason, there are more people keeping tabs on Britney Spears than the Texas power grid. And this just goes to show you, you can't put profits over quality and safety. Money's not worth a whole lot if you have to burn it to keep warm.
Ten years ago in 2011, the same thing happened, and a report was written with recommendations. Nothing happened. And then before that, in 1989, a natural disaster happened. A report was written, recommendations put out. In both those instances, 89 and 2011, the recommendations were not followed.
Well, Jonathan, you've discovered the ugly sin, the ugly truth, if you will, of Texas. And that is that we developed an energy grid that was singularly based upon the resources in our state. The reason is because the mindset of Republicans, of whom have been in charge for 20 years plus, was we don't want any federal intrusion. We want no federal oversight. And look what we have now. We have people who have died.
In 2011, 2013, when I was in the legislature, I sat on the committee that oversees our electric utility system. I filed a bill that called for the Public Utility Commission to ensure that ERCOT, the Electric Reliability Council, that they would have enough reserve generation to prevent blackouts. Ironically, that bill that I filed was not heard in committee.
This shows how the Green New Deal would be a deadly deal for the United States of America.
And now, of course, they're pointing the finger at Congressman Ocasio-Cortez, the Green New Deal, everyone and everything except for themselves, which does not inspire confidence that we're going to get our way out of this or learn from these mistakes. We had a terrible winter storm in 2011 that caused similar rolling blackouts across Texas. You would have thought 10 years later, with many of the same people in power, we would have learned from that mistake, invested in our infrastructure, and kept our fellow Texans safe. But that's not what's happening in the state right now.